Hello, everyone.
We are back. It is time for the power forward list. We have already done the center list. If you haven't checked it out, you can check it out right over here. There's a card on the top of the screen. If you
That
haven't
way,
already,
that way, somewhere.
if you haven't already, like, subscribe. Definitely means a lot to us. We're going to get right into our power forward list. Number 25. Who do we got?
Over at number 25, we've got PJ Washington from
PJ
Washington.
Washington. Not from Washington, from Charlotte.
No, Charlotte. I know.
That's going to
It
look
would have
great,
been nice though.
right?
But no. He's pretty good. Pretty good young player.
Yeah.
Young guy.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're a rookie and you actually come in and you're not picked in the first, top 10 and you put up 12 and 5, 12 and 6, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not you could complain about. The fact he was even starting or getting that caliber of minutes, I mean, that alone
Well, luckily he was on Charlotte.
that definitely plays a huge factor into it. But I mean, he looked good, right? He wasn't inefficient in many spots. I mean, even from three as a power forward, he thought shot 37%. So, was he taking 4 or 5 attempts per game? No, but I mean, still, it's an efficient rate, right? Like he's not taking shots he shouldn't. I believe
Yeah.
free throw shooting has to work on it a bit, but again, a young guy, he's already a decent rebounder. Like I said, had that kind of 12 and 5 year. Could hopefully only go up from here. I mean, if we see like a 14 and 7 from PJ Washington, that's good progression. Maybe slowly goes into like the finishes 16-7, 16-8, maybe even a guy like David West. So it could be a decent career for PJ Washington. He was well coached in college, obviously played for a good school. So
See, I for one, I hope that he proved everything you just said right because he beat out a couple people that I didn't think he was going to beat out. People that were a little more esteemed on defense, a little more respected throughout the league. But it does goes to show just how good of a year he had last year. And if he didn't have that good of a year, he wouldn't be in this conversation. For example, people that didn't make our list are people like PJ Tucker, Marcus Morris, Derek Favors. The guy went 11 and 10 last year, and every year before that at power forward he went 15 and 8, 15 and 9. These are names that are we know what they're going to bring. We I still I hope that we PJ Washington brings another year like this, and if he does, then he does definitely warrant a spot in here. But if he does regress at all, then he'll lose a spot out of this list for sure.
yeah, I mean, Favors last year, right, he did drop a bit. I mean, I think he was 9.8. He was under 10 points and I think under 10 rebounds as well. And that's the thing with Favors. He is kind of likely through that prime of his career on that downslope. And if it's who's the better player, of course, Derek Favors is probably the better overall player. But because it's a list going into this year of who's going to have the better year, I think it's kind of fair to assume PJ Washington's probably going to have a better overall year than Derek Favors, no matter where Charlotte finishes, and that kind of justifies his spot. We'll finish on Washington before we go back to a couple of these other guys, but I mean, we talked about Charlotte, how again they could even be maybe in the run potentially for one of those playoff seeds, especially with the playoff tournament coming in too. So again, they have a good system around them. He fits in really well for power forward. They obviously got rid of some players who made it gave him some minutes for that, whether it's Batum or whoever it may be. But again, now they have a good starting five with the Ball or Rozier, whoever they want to go with Graham, with Hayward, with Washington, and then whoever they decide to run at center, whether it be Zeller or Biombo, probably Zeller, obviously. But again, he fits in good. He'll get his minutes, he'll get his shots, and I really think he could only go up from there.
Yeah, no, he'll definitely hit his shots. He's shown that he can score at the NBA level, which is difficult to do for anyone. That team's definitely going to be a lot better this year. And if he can be even if he can be the same player but on a winning team, that'll bring him up in the rankings.
For sure. And going back to those guys we spoke about. So I know you mentioned a very defensively minded guy who you're pretty